Riley Raycup from New Horizons Healthy Foods here. There's a lot of misinformation out there in the nutritional world. That's why it's so hard to run a store like a science-based, evidence-based store. There's what people want to hear, and there's what's the truth. So we have an article here. I'm going to go on a little rant today about world-renowned heart surgeon speaks out on what really causes heart disease. Now, just by reading the title, I could pretty much already say or know what was going to be in this article. Typical, just all sugar's fault and whatever. And they'll never blame it on meat, so they'll say saturated fat and cholesterol don't matter, and all that's nonsense. And of course, that's what they say. Wow, I'm shocked that they said this. And as usual, these articles never have any scientific references. Okay? Absolutely not one scientific reference, not one study, nothing like that. Unlike nutritionfacts.org, which not only lists all the references, it provides link to them to the actual whole study, not just the abstract conclusion. And as it's talking about it, it highlights so you can actually see what they're getting from the study. And when you have articles like this and they do reference studies, they're always industry-funded studies. Dairy, meat, and egg industries. Of course, their number one objective is to make you think saturated fat isn't bad for you. So they'll be like, yeah, there's absolutely all that stuff on saturated fat that's nonsense. Saturated fat and cholesterol don't lead to heart disease. No. Okay, what about hundreds of metabolic ward studies where basically just what it sounds like, someone's locked in a ward and they feed them X amount of saturated fat and they test what their cholesterol goes up. I mean, it's so predictable. There's a famous Hegstad equation that predicts how high your cholesterol is going to rise, okay? I mean, and there's all sorts of other studies. This was set, case closed in this a long time ago, okay? They make it sound like, the sugar industry devised this plan to, make saturated fat the culprit, when really they knew it was sugar all along, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, saturated fat, eat all you want of it, no big deal. Well, you're not just going to increase your risk for heart disease, all the saturated fat. You're going to increase your risk for cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, kidney disease, etc., etc. I mean, it's not good stuff. So, of course, they go on to say that, you should limit your consumption of refined sugar. I mean, duh, it's processed food. Why would you not want to do that? It's not rocket science. And limit your white flour and all refined flours. Yeah, duh. Processed foods are no good for you. That's not rocket science. And eat fresher, wholer foods. Yeah, of course. Fruits and vegetables is good. But they never actually, and don't eat, vegetable oils. Omega-6 rich vegetables like soybean or oil. Yeah, oils are processed foods. Again, processed foods are no good for you. Why would you want to eat oils? Okay? Healthy oils. Some are just worse than others. Of course it's going to be bad for you. But they never like, the meat and dairy and eggs full of saturated fat cholesterol. No, those are fine. Those won't lead to heart disease because saturated fat and cholesterol don't matter, even though they also have no fiber and they have heterocyclic amines, all this other nasty stuff that leads to inflammation. No antioxidants, but that's okay. Eat all you want. It's like, did you really need 25 years as a heart surgeon to figure out that processed foods were bad for you? Really? You really needed that long? I mean, come on. I mean, the science on the diet he's proposing, he doesn't specifically say, eat tons of meat and dairy, but he's basically, that's what they're getting at. They're trying to make you feel like that's okay. Show me the study where a diet with meat and dairy reverses heart disease. There isn't any. But wait, there's a whole food plant-based study. There's several of them. Esselstyn, Ornish, reverse heart disease. That's right. The only diet ever been proven to do that. But what do you know? Those are diets with low saturated fat and no cholesterol. And they're the ones that reverse heart disease. But saturated fat and cholesterol don't matter. Huh. Odd. That's weird. It's weird that there's populations in Africa, 6,000 samples, not necessarily vegan, but really highly plant-based, not low rates of heart disease, 0 rates of heart disease. Amazing. They're eating fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. Imagine that. So, this is just your typical everybody's fine with saying eat vegetables. Some people are fine with saying eat fruit. But people, we can't say don't eat meat and dairy and eggs. We can't tell people the truth. We got to tell them what they want to hear. That beef's fine, even though it's a class 2 carcinogen. And of course, processed meats are class 1 carcinogens. Oh no, they're fine. They're fine. No, they're not fine. They're not fine. And of course, as always, I don't care what you do. I'm not your mother. As long as you have the information to make an accurate decision, okay? But it's articles like these that, are clearly just meant to confuse you and keep you eating, the diet that's going to make you sick. Look at what Americans eat. They eat meat, dairy, and eggs in every meal. Almost every meal. Guess what? Lots of heart disease, lots of diabetes, and they eat lots of processed foods. It's not hard to find. Oh, and they always go into Americans, we went in that low-fat craze because the government recommended low-fat in the 90s, and everybody went low-fat, and people just kept getting fatter and sicker. Well, guess what? I lived in the 90s. I lived in the 80s. I don't know anyone who went on a low-fat diet. Oh, just because you ate low-fat, no-fat Snackwell cookies for a month instead of your normal cookie doesn't mean you went on a low-fat diet. Just because you went from regular milk to skim milk doesn't mean you went on a low-fat diet. People are still eating tons of animal products. I know because I ate school lunches every day. They weren't low-fat. People still kept eating more meat, more dairy, more cheese, and more calories in general. Oh, they kept eating fat. Nobody went plant-based. They say people went low-fat. They did studies with people going from 40% fat to 30% fat, and they're calling that 30% fat a low-fat diet. Oh my God, heart disease rates didn't plummet. Yeah, no kidding, because it wasn't really a low-fat diet. Certainly wasn't a plant-based diet. It was still a very unhealthy diet. They didn't get better. What do you know? I can't believe it. But you actually go on an actual low-fat, say less than 20% of calories, whole food plant-based diet, people tend to get better. Oh my goodness. So it's just total nonsense. It's just downright deceptive. And there's nothing that makes me angry when people know what they're spewing is lies, but they're paid off or they have financial interest, so they do it anyway. It's like, this guy just killed thousands of people. Basically, he just killed thousands of people. And he's going to have that on his conscience because, he knows what he's saying is nonsense. He has to. Or he's never read or he got all his information from other bloggers. If he actually read the literature is overwhelmingly in favor of plant-based diets. But you have to actually look at it. You can't just go by what some your journal in your doctor's office says. You have to actually read the studies and not the advertisements. Okay, there's my rant. So if you don't want heart disease, eat more plants. Less processed foods, less meat and dairy. There you go. Don't smoke, of course, and all that other risk factors, but yeah, you already know those ones. Okay, thanks for watching. Don't forget to carb up. Don't forget to green up. See you next time.